Woohoo! All right. I gotta say, my friends, that is pretty cool. A lot of us have heard of scale mail, but I don't think many of us have heard of feather mail before. But that brings up an interesting question. How effective would this armor actually be? Well, that depends. Historically speaking, one of the strongest types of armors that you had in ancient time was scale mail, which, yes, oftentimes was stronger than chainmail, but one of the key problems this armor had is that it wasn't necessarily very flexible. This is why typically scale was used in conjunction with chain, where chain would go over the parts, like the joints, that needed to be more flexible in order to be able to actually, well, move. This armor doesn't really seem to have that issue. It is far more flexible, so you could have scales, or in this case feathers, go much further down your body. But also at the same time, this seems to function almost more like a cloak and billow outward, which means from the back you're more protected, but from the front it gives an area that potentially you could have a blade or an arrow or something hook into it and trap a person. In a way, it almost reminds me of the Japanese horo cloaks, which were literally, they would have a frame on their back with a cloak that when arrows were fired at them, the cloak billowing out would catch the arrows. So on that note, it looks really cool, but just I cannot imagine a full version of this that goes across much of the upper body because it would be too large of a surface area, making you a fairly easy target.